Welcome to the Old Men of the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 147, Mikal Bridges. Tommy, our old friend Mikal, obviously got traded prior to All-Star break, right at the deadline. This was a great catch-up. You know, one of the things I always find with Mikal, first of all, he's entertaining as shit. But there is a level of introspection. There's a level of thought that he brings to every episode, and hearing him give his sort of first person account of not only the trade, but the after effects of the trade. It's really fascinating to me.
We're biased, but you can see why on a personal level, Suns fans were bummed to see him and Cam, both of the two of them go, and why the Nets fans love him already. I mean, he's been in New York for a week. I saw him on Super Bowl Sunday. He'd been there for 2 days, and he's already, I mean, we're going to get to the 45-point game, but just on a just sort of like emotional level, the city of Brooklyn already loves him.
I think about heroes, I think about heroes a lot. I do. Hopefully I'm a hero to my kids. I have my own personal heroes, my father, sports figures, coaches, whatever. And there's something about Mikal, his personality, what he brings to a team, his culture. Like, to me, he's a hero. He really is. There's a joy that he smiles brings all the to time. Every game. You know what? It's so funny, Tommy. I probably went to, I think I went to 2 games this season. Yeah, 2 games this season before he got traded. And my kids like to get there early, so we watch the players warm up. Even in like warm-ups, and there's been viral videos or whatever, even in warm-ups, there's just an energy, there's an aura that he has. And I think about an 82-game season, something that I did, 13 years, or I guess 12 years, because I had the lockout year and then 2 72-game seasons. But you go through a long season, and it comes down a little bit. It's not just the basketball on the court. It comes down to people. Your enjoyment of the season comes down to the people, your teammates, your coaches, the people on the support staff, the people on the training staff. And the more Mikals you have, the more enjoyable your experience is. Like, I would say this for all the Brooklyn Nets fans out there, Brooklyn got a real one.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've been through a lot. Just the franchise has been through a lot this year. And so it's really nice to have this kind of energy, in the middle of the season, just kind of like transported in.
One of the things we talk about with Mikal, Tommy, Jacque Vaughn, interim tag off, head coach, signed a multi-year extension recently. Very happy for him. Seen his growth as a coach. I played for him his first year as a head coach. Here's what's interesting. Jacque Vaughn, my year with him, his first year coaching, my 7th year in Orlando, he was a behind the bench guy, not a front of the bench guy. Came in, and I thought he did a great job for given what we had, given the Orlando Magic objective to sort of rebuild. I don't know that we were tanking that year, but we certainly wanted to rebuild after we traded Dwight. Joe Mazzulla also just got the interim tag ripped off. Also just signed a multi-year extension. He was behind the bench last year. And now Joe Mazzulla is coaching the number 1 team in the NBA and is the front runner for Coach of the Year at 34 years old. NBA discourse centers around players all the time, as it should. The players are the stars. The players are the ones that play the game. I don't think it's been talked about enough what Joe Mazzulla has done this year.
Do you think that that's because this team is taken, with the immense amount of talent that they have, it's being taken for granted a little bit?
I think it's been taken for granted because people assume he just inherited, which he did. He inherited a really good team. Yeah. And Brad Stevens, to his credit, Gallinari, I know, got hurt. I liked that addition. I don't think he would help them defensively, but I like that addition because they did need more shooting. Brogdon has been spectacular. I love the Mike Muscala addition. But I want to just break some things down real quick. If you would just give me a minute and a half
do it
to talk about Mazzulla ball. Mazzulla ball. What are the differences? From my vantage point as an observer watching the game, I've picked up on a few things. When Rob Williams is not on the court, they play 5 shooters pretty much all the time. They have shooting galore. They have people that can break down a defense. Not just Tatum, not just Jaylen Brown. Malcolm Brogdon can do it. Derek White can do it, right? What they do out of that is zip, zip. Coaches talk about this, players talk about this, good to great. The idea of good to great. You get a kick out pass, you've got a defender closing at you. Rather than shooting it, if you see a teammate who has no one within 15 to 20 feet, you kick it. Maybe the defense makes a miraculous recovery. You drive it again. It is this perfect balance of aggression, unselfishness, ball movement. That's my vantage point as an observer. Now let's talk about the numbers. Because sometimes people say, well, analytics, eye test. No. Analytics often reinforce the eye test. They often reinforce the eye test. One of the things, they take a lot of threes. A lot of threes. They're second in the league in three-point attempts and three-point makes. Golden State is 1 in those. Three-point percentage, they're 7th. So they have shooting. Assist, they're 6th in the league per game in assists. 26.4. Last year, 14th in the league at 24.8. Oh, okay. So they are passing. They're moving the ball more. Okay. Makes 15.9 three-point makes per game this year. Last year, 13.2. Assist percentage, which is a great stat because that's adjusted to pace. 5th in the league. 63.1% of their possessions end in an assist. Last year, around 60%. 14th in the league last year. Now, what effect has that had on their offense? Okay. Offensive rating, almost 117 points per 100 possession. That's 3rd in the league. Last year, they were great offense, 9th in the league, 113.6. So they're getting 3.3 points per 100 more this year. They started off slow defensively. They were a great defense, especially January on last year. They're now 4th defensively in the league, 3rd best offense. And they have leaned in recently to this idea of creating good three-point shots. Since the start of February, 45.6 threes per game, up from 42.2 for the season. And they're shooting 42.5% from 3 in those games since the start of February. Both of those tops in the league. Tops in the league. 2 years ago, when I would watch the Celtics, I saw a lot of ISO-heavy basketball. I saw a lack of body movement. I saw a lack of ball movement. Ime introduced this idea.
Yeah,
Joe Mazzulla has doubled down on this. Ime's
last fall, even this was like this.
Ime, their offense was awesome. And there were times in the playoffs where they stagnated a little bit. Their offense was awesome for the second half of last season. Awesome. I don't have the exact numbers from, let's say, when they were 25 and 25 and they went 26-6 down the stretch. But it was a great offense. They ended up being 9th overall last year. But he has just doubled down. So what is intriguing to me about Joe, because from what I know, a lot of the guys loved Ime as a coach. He was tough on them. He made them accountable, all that stuff. Joe is a 34-year-old behind the bench assistant, comes in and gets the buy-in and gets the trust. Can't be overstated how remarkable that is. It really can't. And so when we talk about end of season awards, which we like to do on the show, Joe Mazzulla, DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 170, has the best odds right now to win Coach of the Year. And truthfully, Tommy, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this based on a bunch of great coaches doing phenomenal jobs this year. It's his to lose unless I'm crazy.
Well, I have a question for you about this particular award, just from a voting perspective, because I think the other person that I wanted to bring up is the person who's now moved up to second on this list. And when you're deciding Coach of the Year, how much are you just weighing the individual talent on a roster? Because when you look at the Celtics, I mean, obviously this team was in the finals last year. They were a finals, favorite this year going into the season. Tatum has exceeded that. I mean, he's in. We've talked about it a ton. Is an arguable MVP. this is a team that has an immense amount of talent. And so the guy that I wanted to bring up was Mike Brown, who started the season plus 8,000 on DraftKings, is now up to plus 240. So he is now he's number 2 to Joe on the DraftKings listings. There's a lot of talent on the Kings. We've talked about De'Aaron. We've talked about Sabonis. This is not a team that has like a dearth of talent, but I wouldn't necessarily say they are as talented as the Celtics when you're making this, this
it's a fair point. I think a lot of this award comes down to expectations. So I've mentioned this before. I think what a successful career looks like as a player. Did you maximize your talent? Because some of the stuff, your fit, teams, trades, contract, like it's all out of your control. A lot of what goes into a career is out of your control. But there's certain things you can't control. If you maximize your talent, that's a successful career. I think that applies here with coaching. If you maximize your team, regardless of the expectations, that is a job well done. Yeah. And to me, Mazzulla has done that. Mike Brown has done that. Mike Malone has done that. Mike Malone is 3rd on DraftKings Sportsbook. He's at plus 260 right now. I think Jacque Vaughn has done that. Like,
can I give you a deep sleeper?
Yeah, I know who you're going to say, but yes.
Mark Daigneault, OKC.
I don't think you said his name right, but yeah.
I looked this up like 5 times, so if I got it wrong, Jason, can we fact check this?
All right, so Mark Daigneault, right?
Mark Daigneault in OKC.
But that's how he was, I believe that's how he was introduced at his press conference. And then the Thunder released something right after his press conference. That's how Presti introduced him as Mark Daigneault.
That's what I was watching, yeah.
And then the Thunder released a thing on Twitter or a press release where they said it's Mark Daigneault. And then if you just Google how to pronounce Mark Daigneault,
it's different.
It's a French pronunciation, which you just attempted.
Yes, it's different.
So, you know what? It's a great one, Tommy, because I actually think when we're talking about that sort of that concept of maximization, he has done that with the Thunder. Even people that are above him in terms of the odds, Doc Rivers, Bud's done a great job. I'm not knocking Bud's thing, but Mark Daigneault to me has maximized this team, and they have a super bright future.
Can I throw some numbers at you since January 1st?
Yeah, I would love these numbers. Yes.
Since January 1st, the Thunder are 1st in offensive rating, 1st in points per game, 2nd in net rating, 3rd in 3-point percentage, 3rd in steals, and they have the 5th easiest schedule to finish the season. So they're 10th in the West right now. They're in the playoffs. If the playoffs started tomorrow, but they could be in 6th or 7th by the time we get to May. And so I wonder if that, we were talking about this as a team that was like in the Victor Wembanyama conversation before the season started. And so even them being in the playoffs, I wonder if that would sway some votes.
I think it would. I think it would. To me, and again, this is not a knock on Sacramento. To me, the likelihood of Sacramento being in that 2nd or 3rd spot in the West, given what the Clippers have done recently with Kawhi and their additions, and given Phoenix and Dallas, I don't think he ends up as the coach of the year if the Kings are in 5th or 6th in the West.
Yep.
I think a more likely scenario, let's say the Bucks continue this insane hot streak. Maybe the Celtics have a couple off weeks, and all of a sudden the Thunder get in that 7th spot or the 8th spot with like a 44-38 record. There's probably a lot of buzz about Mark Daigneault. That to me is like, that's the scenario where he's got a real chance. By the way, these Thunder numbers, I love it. Like the 2nd in the league over a 6-year or 6-week stretch in net rating, that is not insignificant. That's premium right there. Yeah. Net rating is one of the greatest indicators we have. And it's a very simple stat. It's just based on offensive rating per 100, defensive rating per 100. It's one of the greatest indicators of how a team is playing and how good a team is relative to the rest of their peers. The Thunder are really good. You brought up the 3-point shooting too, and we're hoping, obviously we don't want to give anything away, but we're hoping to get Giddey on. So I was doing a bunch of research on Giddey and Shea, and both those guys drive the ball a lot. And so on paper, you would say two guys that aren't particularly great shooters. Giddey's around 30%. Shea, obviously, a little better at 34%. But two guys that aren't great shooters that play minutes together and both handle the ball. Like, on paper, that seems like it wouldn't work. They have so many good shooters on that roster. And I want to give a shout out to Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe shooting 45% going into the All-Star break. The motherfucker should have been in the three-point contest. I don't know if he turned it down. Yeah. I don't know if the NBA didn't ask. I don't know what the parameters were. Maybe he wasn't planning on going to All-Star weekend, whatever. But he should have been in that contest. He's having a phenomenal season.
We should also mention the youngest team in the NBA. The average age is like 23.1 or something like that.
Yeah.
But and that's another thing with coaching. I mean, these aren't a bunch of vets that have been there and have been through these battles before. It's almost like it's a bunch of young guys who are too young to know any better, and to be intimidated by anybody.
Exactly. They got a bright future, and obviously excited to see what Chet Holmgren does next season. NBA fans, it's time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with code JJ. Right now, you can bet $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Tommy, I may have gotten myself into a little bit of trouble again on First Take.
There we go.
Well, trouble to some, trouble not to me. I'm good. I sleep well at night. I sleep very well at night.
It takes a lot to throw you off. It does take a lot to throw you off.
Yeah. I mean, Dominique Wilkins made some comments that I didn't know what I was talking about, which is fine. Like, Bob Cousy has said something in response. Jerry West, of course, has said something. Like, none of that bothers me. Those guys, I more than respect their opinions because they're legends. They lived it. I don't have their experience. I don't get worked up about that. I've gotten worked up a little bit about the way things are framed, I think. So last week on First Take with Mad Dog, he said Larry Bird was a top 5 3-point shooter ever. And I misspoke and I said, he's not a top 3. And then I reframed it later in the segment and I said, he's not a top 5 3-point shooter ever, which he's not. But in the segment, I said, Larry Bird, top 10 player all time. That's undisputable. I actually have him higher than 10. One of the greatest shooters ever. Again, there wasn't an emphasis on 3 points back then. Larry Bird shot 37.6% for his career. Richard Jefferson, I think, shot a higher 3-point percentage for his career than Larry Bird. And Richard Jefferson is not a 3-point shooter. I chide him all the time about his shooting. Larry Bird shot 1.9 attempts per game for his career. Like, it's not, there's no volume, there's no efficiency. Like, there's no argument to be made that he's a top 5 3-point shooter ever. He's not. He's one of the greatest players ever. He's also one of the greatest shooters ever. Like, that, to me, is also an indisputable fact. It's not throwing shade to say somebody's not a top 5 3-point shooter. And the trope that every old talking head uses, Mad Dog, Stephen A, physicality, right? It's fine. My entire point about the segment was that outside of fouls, hard fouls, and fighting, the physicality, the basketball play, the physicality is not that much different than today's NBA. But it's become such a talking point that people take it as gospel. Anyone, myself included, can go watch games from the 90s, full games, not montages of people getting fouled hard, not montages of Jordan getting fouled by the Pistons.
You've watched a lot of full games. You've told Jason and I recently. You spent probably too much time watching full games recently.
Bro, enjoyably. I love basketball. I enjoy. This morning, we were delayed. I'm traveling. I'm in Phoenix right now to call the game tomorrow night. We were delayed, and I came across my YouTube feed, the full game of the 1976 finals, Boston versus Phoenix in Boston, game 5, one of the greatest games ever played. All right. Before we took off, I got through the first half. Like, I just enjoy watching basketball. And by watching basketball a lot, film through a critical lens that I did for 15 years as a player, 4 years at Duke, I can discern what is happening on the court. I don't need to look at a box score to tell me what is happening on the court. And the reality is, from my lens, from my eyes, when I watch older games, there's not a discernible difference between Michael Jordan in the post now versus Jokic in the post now. We can talk about the rules. We can talk about hand checking. We can talk about illegal defense. We can talk about defensive 3-second, zone defense, all that stuff. All factors into it.
I have a narrative question for you about this, because this happened with Jerry West when he gave his comments, and it happened with Dominique a couple of days ago. I think one of the issues, and maybe this is a media thing in general, it's not unique to basketball, it's not unique to sports. One of the issues is these guys are being asked questions that are disingenuous, where the information, your name is being used, and these things are being framed as you saying something that you are not saying. You've never made fun, you've never criticized Larry Bird in the slightest. We have a photo of Larry Bird hanging up in our studio. And
Larry Bird with the trucker hat on, sitting in a pickup truck.
Basically, Dominique is being
one of my favorite
asked,
players ever. Yep.
Yes, he's being asked to respond to a comment, a quote unquote comment that you made that you didn't make. So of course he's going to say that.
Right. So the comment or whatever the question was, I watched the video, but whatever the comment or the question was to Dominique centered around this idea that I disrespected Larry Bird. How? I didn't disrespect Larry Bird. I questioned the narrative around physicality. I said, for every montage video you can show me of Larry Bird being in a headlock underneath the basket, I can show you a montage video of him shooting open jumpers, of him coming off pin downs. Yeah, I can show Steph the same way. I can show Steph getting held. I can show Larry getting held. It's like, it's all basketball. People think the 80s and 90s were like these prison rules. Were there physical games? Yeah, there were. There were fights. There were fouls. There was grabbing. There was holding. There's no fights anymore, unless you're Mo Bamba and Austin Rivers. There's no fights anymore. There's marginally hard fouls. They've cleaned up all these flagrant rules. It's to protect the players. I get it. There's not a difference. The idea, though, that I'm like disrespecting older players for questioning media narratives around that era, that's not disrespect. That's not disrespect. What have I been consistent on since day one? Since day one. This all started with the top 75 list. It all started with that. Since day one. On that episode, which was, I believe, in November of 2021 or 2022. Yeah, November 2021. It was right after I retired. They came out with the top 75 list. And I questioned a couple of the selections because all the 50 greatest players from 1996 made that list. They all made it. And so that we were left with 25 years to pick 25 other players. And some of the players that didn't make the top 50 list in 1996 that were retired made that list. So a lot of modern players got held off that list. What I said then, what I've said 15 or 16 times since then on the podcast, on ESPN, players should be celebrated. We should congratulate greatness for that era. The greatest players of every era, whether that's Wilt, Jerry West, Larry Bird, they would be fine in any era. And one of the pushbacks on that comment is always today's players wouldn't be fine in the 80s and 90s, which is fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to push back on that narrative. That's what it comes down to. It is not a knock on, dude, Dominique Wilkins is fucking awesome. He was awesome. Larry Bird was awesome. Jerry West was awesome. Bob Cousy was awesome. Dolph Schayes with his two-hand set shot that shot 38%. Great. You were awesome in the 50s, bro. You were awesome. Congrats. No shade. No shade.
It
whatsoever.
is. It's just messed up that it's instigating. You know, it's like kids on a playground and it's like a game of telephone and you're causing someone else to have a fight and you're just like, I'm not dissing you.
But the other point I want to make is I don't actually enjoy comparing eras.
Yeah.
Like I got asked about it on First Take when LeBron broke the record. Who's the greatest player of all time? You know, and it's like, well, Jordan said it best. Gave an interview with Mike Wilbon in 2009. I can't say I'm the greatest player of all time. I didn't play against Wilt. I didn't play against Jerry West. I don't know. The better question is, who's the greatest player of a generation? Who's the greatest player of an era? That's a better question. Every single time this has come up, I'm not the one bringing it up.
Yeah.
It's people making crazy comments. Bob Cousy is a top 5 point guard of all time. No, he's not. Objectively, no, he's not.
You know,
Larry Bird's a top 5 3-point shooter of all time. No, he's not. Objectively, he's not.
We don't talk about it on this podcast. We don't talk about it with us.
It's not something we do.
We don't talk about it with other players because other players don't want to talk about it either. It's not a fun conversation. When you play, it's not a fun conversation.
Bro, we had GP on the podcast, whatever that was, last June. And like hearing his stories from the 90s, like I enjoy it, man. It's a different era. We had Dr. J on the podcast, hearing his stories. It's a different era. I love hearing those stories. It's a different experience. Yeah. Basketball is basketball, man. Basketball is basketball. If you want to make it football, I don't know of an era where it was football. I do know there were certain teams at different points that played a more physical style of basketball. Guess what? Michael Jordan did not play the Detroit Pistons 82 times a year. Guess what? In the 90s, Michael Jordan did not play the New York Knicks 82 times a year. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. I will just say, I will say just as like I said before, as a friend, for the people watching this, for the people listening to this, whatever it is, when these firestorms happen on Twitter, and it's not that important, but just go to the tape. Go to the tape and see what was said, and then watch the instigating happen. And basically, it's like, don't fall for the okie doke. And I know it doesn't bother you. No.
Because you've been through this for a while, but it is annoying.
I'll tell you what bothers me. Because something does bother me. So Dominique Wilkins, Bob Cousy, Jerry West, that doesn't bother me at all. It does not bother me. I'm nothing but love and respect and admiration for every player that came before me, every player that came before this generation. Nothing there. What bothers me, and ESPN does it too, right? We have to do it a little bit on social when we condense our videos to 2 minutes, but we're not doing it for clickbait. You only can put up a certain amount of time. So if we're having a conversation and you see a 30-second video with a headline from whatever aggregate website, it's probably not the entire part of the conversation. So again, it goes back to this idea of disrespect. Fuck that. There's no disrespect. Flowers.
Good rant. I think we got 3 in a row. 3 weeks in a row with
One note before we get to Mikal Bridges. Episode 2 of Islands in the League, presented by DraftKings, our monthly video series where we deep dive on an NBA topic, came out today. I touch on in-season trades and the significance of Kevin Durant moving to the Suns. We have some fun with the NBA referees. I apologize in advance. I'll apologize again. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I respect you guys. I'm sorry for that video. Jason made me do it. Without further ado, let's get to our guy, Mikal Bridges. Missing the syrup for your pancakes? Or just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can get what you want right when you need it. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order.
You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. Want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it.
Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code JJ23 at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code JJ23. Don't forget, that's JJ23 for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. Wedding planning is intimidating, but finding the perfect suit shouldn't be. Indochino makes it easy to get a fully customizable suit right from home. With suits starting at just $499 and fitted shirts at $89, it's bespoke without the premium price tag. I've rocked a number of Indochino suits at formal events, dinners, summer weddings, there is no event that Indochino can't nail.
Set up your measurement profile on Indochino's website and choose fabric and customizations without even leaving the house. Or book an appointment at a showroom near you. Let Indochino style guides help you and your groomsmen with every detail. Their team of experts has the resources, style advice, and professionalism to make your dream suit a reality and help your groomsmen look just as good standing beside you.
When planning your wedding, get a suit as unique as you with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com and use code OLDMAN to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's Indochino.com, Indochino.com. Promo code OLDMAN. Mikal, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, what's up? Nice to see you.
Our new neighbor.
I was trying to describe where the studio was to try to get you to come over in person today. And now I see the hotel you're at, and I recognize that hotel. And I realize I could walk to you. You could walk to me right now. I'm so close to you.
It's 10 minutes.
Is it really that close? Yes.
Yes.
I'm probably like 8 blocks away. No bullshit. I'm like 8 blocks away.
You know what? I would have brought my dog, bro. That'd been fine if I'd have brought him.
Yeah, I have a dog too, man.
Mikal's been doing the Brooklyn Bridge Park, the little stroll. It's the best with the dog.
What are your early impressions of Brooklyn? I know that you probably, I want to hear about your All-Star break. I know you probably went somewhere for break, but you've been here for several days now. Early impressions about Brooklyn.
Man, I love the city. I kind of always wanted to live in the city for a while now. But I mean, I used to, at Nova, we came to New York a lot. Coach Wright was like the biggest New York head. So we used to have like hoops on the Hudson. So Hudson River, we used to have like a thing preseason every year. So New York, we're kind of familiar with. Yeah, I like it, man. I like seeing people. I'm like a people's person. So just like seeing people walking around. I mean, it's going to get a little nicer, a little cold right now, but it's just nice, man. I actually kind of like it a lot.
What did you do for break this year?
So I went back to Phoenix. I was at Utah Friday night. I had a couple of appearances to do. Flown in Friday, left Friday night, went back to Phoenix, and then packed my stuff up.
See, this is the part about trades that are always interesting to me. And you own your house in Phoenix, so like the actual logistics. Tommy and I've been to your house. The actual logistics, once you get traded in season, and in your case, literally moving across the country, there's the emotional process of getting traded, the basketball part, and trying to unpack that.
Yeah.
And then there's sort of the distraction of the logistics of your lifestyle and sort of day-to-day existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I came home and I was like walking Sunny. I was starting to realize like everything that I usually don't realize. I like live here. It's like I'm taking for granted. But now I'm like starting to really realize like little stuff, like living by the mountains. I'm just like looking at the mountains, just like, that is just a beautiful ass view. Like I never walk outside and be like, look at that great view. Like, no, I'm walking my dog, go back inside. I'm just like, I'm gonna miss this shit. Like I'm just gonna miss living here, this space. But yeah, it's crazy, bro. Just having to move out, try to pack what you need, and then like, come and live in a house with like 1,000 square feet to a hotel right now, and then living in the city, you already know, like, it's gonna, like, I think I'm gonna lose like 5,000 square. So like,
you're not getting a house.
Nah. So think about like all the stuff I have, like it fits in my house, but now I have to kind of like bring it down and realize like how much space I really have.
Mikal, in retrospect, now that the trade's been a couple of weeks, what was the craziest part of those 24 hours?
The craziest part was, I think the crazy thing was being very confident about Phoenix, and the whole thing. This is personally though for me, like the whole thing was be aggressive. That was my whole thing. Like especially when Book came back, everybody was just like, it was crazy. Everybody was on like, don't change. Just we know Book's coming back. Just stay aggressive. Like don't like try to fall back a little bit. And I was like, I feel very confident. Like I'm good. And then I played well in Brooklyn. We won. And I'm just like, okay, once we get this team back, everybody back, like C-Payne was coming back soon. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have some shit now. And then I know where I'm just chilling. They just flipped me. And I was just like, damn, like shit, like that is crazy. Everything I was thinking about, like, oh, it's gonna be real hectic now. I think like everybody's getting better. Like C, like I think for C, biggest thing, C is just a mastermind. But I think C was guarding even better. Like I think C kind of knew that was like the biggest thing for like that he has to work on, because he's on like coming off ball screens. Like he's been really good catching and shooting. It was just like defending, especially that's how it gets in the playoffs. But like everything was just looking really good, and then they sent me out here.
And you discussed this on I think it was the TNT broadcast against the Bulls, that you found out you were traded via FaceTime from D. Lee, which is such a great story. I think Kevin and both Kyrie, but I know Kevin said something at All-Star break about player movement being good for the league, brings eyeballs, engagement, all that stuff. If we're viewing it through sort of those metrics, then it's hard to argue with that. And we had a discussion today on First Take. Are trade requests good for the league? Of course, I'm pro player, but also it's logical to say, well, trade requests can't be bad, because then a team trading you without you knowing is also bad, which also happens all the time. So
for sure,
they're either both good or they're both bad. And you kind of experienced that, right? Kevin made the trade, and that had a ripple effect on you then moving across the country.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. And it's but the only good thing about it is just I'm happy he said something in the summer. Like I'm happy he said something in the summer. So it was like always in the back of my head. Like always. So like
that it was close. That Phoenix Brooklyn deal was kind of close last summer.
It's just like if he never said anything, I probably would never thought like me going to Brooklyn would be a thing, like ever. Like I just wouldn't think that. Like I don't know. But when Katie said that, and I just knew like, well, the pieces, I'm like, well, I know I'm gonna be involved. Like you just know. Like I'm like, all right, like same position, the money and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to be a part of this. And so it's kind of been on my mind. Not me, it hasn't been on my mind. It's not like I think of it every day since the summer, but it was always there. Like just always there. And then when it happened, it was just like, I get it. I get it. Like I said, how I thought, like how nice we were going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like when everybody's coming back and how we were, I'm just like, well, I know we losing me and Cam, but like you get TJ, you get KD. Like I feel like KD don't affect on the defensive end as much as me, but like he can still guard. You know what I'm saying? Like he can still guard, and we're all team defense anyway. So like you got Coach Mott that's going to make everything great, and everybody, we all play for each other, or they all play for each other. But then also you get 30 a game. Like so, like now I'm looking at them like I like it. Like I like them. I feel like that's for them, and what the new owner came in and what they're trying to do, it makes the most sense. Like I understand they're trying to win. Like they're trying to win now. Do I think the Suns still could have won me and Cam there for sure? But like you get to do like KD, man, and that offense, and with Coach Mott and all them guys over there, like that's a hell of a fit.
On the defensive topic, I would say about Kevin, the defensive impact in terms of the metrics, opponent's field goal percentage, rim protection, all that stuff, like it's been really good when he's played this year. When the trade happened, so I get a stat packet every morning from Matthew Williams. Shout out Matt from ESPN. So it's a lot of historical stats. If there's a big event, with LeBron, a lot of my data came from him. I'm looking at NBA.com. I'm looking at Second Spectrum for my own stuff, but I get a lot of stuff from him. And after the trade happened, there was a stat about you and the fact that you have spent more time guarding an all-star than any other player in the league this year.
Really?
And so like that was an interesting stat, because when I started thinking about who that fifth starter is, whether it's Josh or whether it's Torrey, whoever it may be, like Kevin's not going to fill that role. Somebody else is going to have to fill that role that you sort of vacated when you got traded. On on the trade, one other thing I wanted to ask you about, because it was reported and I've talked to a few people who kind of knew what was going on, but when you got traded to Brooklyn, there was still some time left before the deadline, and a lot of teams were calling Brooklyn, offering multiple first-round picks. Were you, like, that 6-hour period, sort of from waking up in the morning to the trade deadline, what's going through your mind during that period?
Oh, yeah. I'm just like, my agent's calling me and talking to me. It was like, well, just hold on. Because I was starting to get my mind prepared for, like, okay, like, I like Brooklyn. Like, I like Finney and Spence just got there. I'm like, I like Brooklyn. I'm like, we're just going to bring this energy. We're going to play hard, all that stuff. And so I was getting my mind prepared to be there and like what jersey number I'm going to pick and everything. And they were just like, just calm down. Just wait. Just wait. There's a lot of stuff people are offering. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they're offering some picks. I was like, damn. I was like, for me? I was like, all right. I'm like, I'm just waiting. We'll see where I go.
Apparently, Tommy, there were
five
on the table from one team.
That's pretty good.
Yo, what the hell? It was like me.
we gotta talk about the 45er, but just in general, getting here with this team, a lot of these guys are ready. Obviously, you're coming with Cam. What was your initial reaction once you got in the first night with them?
Just to see how like atmosphere was, and I mean everybody were kind of like the same age, and when we got there, everybody was cool. Like everybody was dope. They were excited. I think it's kind of just a lot of stuff that's been going on just with, KDB out and Kyrie situation. So it's been a lot. Like, it's been a lot, probably more than any other team. So I think it's kind of like maybe more like a little relief. There's just like, okay, maybe now they could just focus on just hooping. You know what I'm saying? And like bringing in guys like me and Cam, that's all we care about. Like that's all we care about. We ain't going to see us TMZ or anything stupid. Like we're just here to hoop. So you just felt that energy and felt that vibe, and everybody's just like, okay, like, and this is going to be our team. Deadline's over. Like this is going to be what we're going to have. And being there in Chicago, being there when they play Chicago, we was watching. You could just feel that energy when it was playing, and I just couldn't wait to get out there.
I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I will repeat this stat. I believe it was over your last 11 games with Phoenix, you averaged 23 a game, and shooting numbers, efficiency, all that stuff was top notch. When the trade happened and you didn't get moved again, one of my initial thoughts was, obviously, Mikal's going to be good and all that stuff, but you playing for Jacque is particularly intriguing to me because I had a personal experience of playing for him. And he was that sort of gap year for me between Stan and between Doc. And obviously, my best years of my career were Clippers Philly. Mm-hmm. But I really needed that time, that 54 games I spent with Jacque, because he was like the first coach I had who let me be me. Like he recognized the things I did well on a basketball court. And so in my minutes, that's the way we played. And I really believe him as a coach, he's grown so much. He actually showed a lot after Kenny got fired before they hired Steve. I thought he was great in that stretch, and he's been great overall. So to me, like, this is almost for you personally, like a great situation, not just because of the roster, but because of him.
Yeah, man. Coach is just like, it's the same thing with letting you be you. He's just so open and just here to listen and here to help. I think the biggest thing I take away from it was after the Knicks game, I kind of was like looking, I was watching the game and rewatching it, and just like our offense, like the flow wasn't there. And I thought like I was tripping. I didn't want to come in, I was only there for like some days. I don't want to come in and be like, our offense should be this, should be that. Like, hell nah, that's not even who I am. So I'm like asking guys around like Joe Harris and stuff who's been there. I'm like, how do you feel about our offense? Like, I know we're about to watch film and stuff. I'm like, how do y'all feel before maybe I say something? And they're like, please, like, just please, like this offense, this and that. Because it's built for Kyrie and KD. Like, get to their spots and ISO. But we don't got the motherfuckers no more. You gotta find offense that fits the guys that's there. So we just watch a film, and I'm just like, trying to talk like, we should do this, like we should do that, like it makes it easier. And coach is literally just like, yeah, like that makes sense. And I talked to him after practice and talking to him about a certain play where like in Phoenix, they call it elbow. And I could get that curl. You know what I'm saying? I get the curl, I could pop back. I got a lot of options. But they was running it like I'm at the block and the big comes down. I'm like, come on, bro. Like I play defense. All a guy got to do is just turn around and top block me. Like I can't get no curl. All I do is pop up just a ball screen. Like I want like there's like different actions for the team. So I just talked to him about it. I was just like, I just think this will be better. And he was just quick, like, yeah, like, come on, let's do it. Like, I like that. Like, if that's comfortable, this and that. I was like, all right, cool. So like, he's just so open, man, and just wants to help and just a great dude.
You're talking about the starting point. So instead of, because you guys ran so much stuff, that curl out of the high post, basically.
Like 2 elbows. They call it elbow in Phoenix. Like I wait on one elbow and the big comes across.
Yeah. So we called it when I was with Monty, it was Brett's call. So it was called ear tug.
Yeah.
That was what we call it, ear tug. Yeah. But I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, that doesn't make as much sense if you start low. But that's how they started KD low. And KD low so he could catch the elbow and ISO, right? Sure. It's totally different. Totally different.
Our next partner is Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. I initially gave AG1 a try for immune system support and better gut health, but the best part is it's a supplement that actually tastes great.
It really does. I take it when I need an early morning boost or when I need a little extra recovery after workouts. AG1 is so much more than a greens powder. It's all your key health products in one.
Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day. Pretty good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. Win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/oldman. That's athleticgreens.com/oldman. Check it out.
Tommy brought it up. The Miami game, 45 points. What stood out for me, because I watched the game, but what stood out for me was, by the way, I was watching it at ESPN because I was doing countdown that night. So we're all like in between, pregame, halftime. We're all watching the game. Like, damn, Mikal's killing again. He's got 23. How many does Mikal have right now? He's got 27. He's got 35. He's got 39. He's got 43. Like, it was like, when is this going to stop? But what stood out for me, there was a play in the 4th where you had Jimmy ISO'd. And you went to your dribble package, played through a little contact, and hit a floater. And I'm wondering if that has always been there, if that has been a this year thing, if that has been an opportunity thing. Selfishly, because I really wish we had played together your rookie year. And I'm just curious if that package has always been there.
Philly fans do not want to hear that.
Don't bring it up, Jay. Please don't bring it up, bro. Please don't bring that up. But no, I can tell that now was not always there. It's just kind of what I always preach. I've been preaching since college. I've been preaching since I get drafted. Because it's always, with me getting drafted, it was always age. You know what I'm saying? It was always like, well, like his ceiling. Like, I'm like, bro, like I am 22 years old. Like, do you think when I'm 24, like I'm just not going to get better at basketball? Like I'm 24 years old. So I just like, each year my whole mindset was just keep getting better. That's how it was in high school, college, but the league for real. Cause it's the label with the 3 and D. And I'm like, I ain't tripping. Like you can label what the hell, whatever hell you could call me anything. You call me a big man, whatever you want. I'm out there playing. I know what I can do. But I just kept getting better, just kept working on my game. And this big shout out to like Corey Vincent. Like I was with him all summer, like Jared Jack, like B Gates, Brian Gates. Like those are like 3 guys right there that just like helped me with just feel comfortable and working on my game. And also Coach Monty, man, I think him giving me that confidence and let me play like who I am and let me just play how I play kind of helped. But like, no, it wasn't always there. Just a lot of work, man. And even that move on Jimmy, it surprised me because like, I'll just say like Corey Vince used to always tell me, because in warm-ups or like in the summer, like if you see my handle and stuff in the summer, you're like, oh shit, like this shit, like, okay, it's tight, this and that. But like, I never was a guy that played off the dribble. So like, it was uncomfortable for me to try in a game, because if I try and lose it, my mind's like, man, hell nah, like don't do that shit again. Like you ain't turn that hoe over again. So I just been working and just finally found that little confidence. And, like when I was playing in Phoenix and then Brooklyn, just trying, just feeling, I was feeling good. I just wasn't really thinking. I just was trying stuff that I always, I've been working on.
It's a fascinating concept to me. It really is, because being placed in a box, which a lot of players are, being placed in a box is so limiting. And then having the freedom to try shit. This is why I say for young players, being in an environment like a Detroit or Houston probably is good for your career. Now, there's a flip side of that, of course, in terms of building habits and building winning habits and all that stuff. Like there's a negative to it. But I think that freedom is so important. The freedom to be able to make mistakes, not just for your teammates or your coaches to see, but like that own personal freedom of like, no, I can try shit. I randomly wake up every morning and I have just these thoughts jump into my brain about the NBA. And I had to take my kids to school before first take this morning. So I'm walking to the car with them, and this thought jumped in my brain because I knew we were going to have you on. And it was like, wait a minute. In 3 consecutive drafts, the Philadelphia 76ers could have had Brandon Ingram, Jason Tatum, and Mikal Bridges. Instead, they got Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, and Zaire Smith. And that was just a thought, and then it left me. But it's pretty crazy to think about, is all I'm saying.
Well, thanks for putting me in a goddamn. That was very nice of you to put me in that category with BI and goddamn Tatum. Thanks, I appreciate that.
Earmuffs for the city of Philadelphia. Mikal, I wanted to ask about Dorian, because you've played, you've been in a bunch of big games against him. We talk about him all the time on the show, what an impact he makes on both sides of the ball. What have you seen as his teammate in this limited run?
The same thing I've seen playing against him. Like, I always tell him every time we play, I'm like, I'll just, at the end of the game, I'll just always tell him like, bro, like they need you. I'm like, you're like, I don't take, like people take guys like 3-and-D guys that play hard, like for granted a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because you got guys like Luka, then when like JB was there, like guys that go get a bucket, like straight bucket. But guys that do all the little things, like people take granted for it. And I just like, will tell him, I'm just like, listen, bro, like you are the glue for this team. Like just like, don't change. Like they need you. Like, and I just told him that. Like I just told him that when we played him. And it's so crazy that he got traded and we talk about it. But as a person, like just cool as hell, funny, he cracks me up. But I mean, I knew what he was on the court. I mean, in the playoffs, on the offensive end, he gave us 8 trays. Like he crashes. Like he knows how to play the game. And the thing is, like, he ain't just catch and shooting either. Like we ain't just. That's the thing about the whole 3-and-D and stuff. Like we didn't get drafted playing 3-and-D. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we weren't in college. Like I wasn't just shooting threes and defending. Like I had to score. Like I had to score the ball. Like it wasn't just all trays. You know what I'm saying? So like you got to kind of put that in a factor where like I was just in a corner in college the whole time. And I think it's the same with Dorian. Like he could put the ball on the floor, make the right play. And it's just like you said, you get put in a box and there's just systems like, I mean, I get it. You got to do that. Luka that can literally score whenever he wants, can also pass out of his mind. So it's like, why not get a man the ball every play? You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I think teams generally look for archetypes as like supporting players, and credit to you because it feels like, and we've discussed this now for the last 15 minutes, but it feels like you are sort of busting through that archetype, right? And you're showing so much more. Last topic for you. A lot was made about, and I have talked about this both on the podcast and ESPN. A lot was made about what arguably was the shittiest All-Star game ever played. Michael Malone called it the worst basketball game ever played. And Jaylen Brown said that wasn't basketball. That was a glorified layup line. Is there a fix for the All-Star game? Either the game itself, or should we just rethink the entire thing?
It's tough. Like, it's... Hey. See, Sonny, you got Sonny ticked off.
Sonny, Mikal will be an All-Star someday. I wasn't
Sonny
dissing Mikal.
But no, it's tough. It's tough because at that point, like, you play 82, and you're thinking playoffs. Like, to go and try to, I think the whole thing is just injury. That's the whole thing I think of. Like, if I'm in that game, it's like summer too. Like, people hoop in the summer, like, they're not going all out. Some guys in the damn league don't even go all out when they play in a regular game. What the hell think they gonna do in an All-Star game? Like, some dudes be chilling out there because it's low key. Like, I give them a compliment after low key bashing them. It's like, they don't gotta try as hard sometimes than other guys. Like, yeah, like, they could go get a bucket whenever they want. Like, they could be low man, defense and just stand there, be there, whatever. But, like, they don't gotta go super hard. Like, they don't have to. So, like, if they're not doing that in some games, like, what the hell you think they're gonna do in an All-Star? Like, when it's supposed to be your break, like, this is supposed to be your break. And when you look, JJ, when you're looking at the schedule, especially, I know you're looking at that schedule, you're like, oh shit, we only got like a week until All-Star break. The coaches are trying to like, I know it's about to be break. This where teams start lapsing, like, just get through the week and then you have your break. So, like, everybody's trying to take a little break. So you think they're gonna go super hard? It's just not the case. I always like the ending. Like, I think them flipping, like, to get to a score, like, that was helpful. But the thing is, like, you know how we get, bro. Like, league guys, we'll drag some out. It'll be cool for 1 year, 2 years, and then we'll just we try to make it super cool each year and just kind of be real calm with it. But
the game on Sunday was so out of hand already that the Elam ending really didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't that Giannis's team was going to get 24 first. Like, there was nothing unless, a miracle happened. Somebody suggested to me that we do like a big 3 type 3-on-3 tournament. I thought that was interesting. The one thing about injury too is the one play LeBron tried hard on. He got his finger stuck in the rim with his shooting hand. Like,
yeah.
So good deed.
What are we talking about this week? What are we talking about this week if LeBron breaks his finger? What are we talking about? Why are we going hard in the All-Star game?
Exactly. Like,
the game is not meant for basketball purists. It's not meant for basketball
it's entertainment.
Purists.
No.
All right. Mikal, we appreciate the time.
Thank you, bro.
Oh, before I let you go, now that you're not on the Suns anymore, who is your least favorite teammate on the Suns?
Biz Mac Biombo. I don't like Biz. Get on the hell away from me. Biz Mac. Fucking right. Biz, man.
Great answer.
We'll be sure to mention him in the tweet. All right, appreciate the time, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate y'all.